Hello, everybody. My name is Jeff Gergen with Muscle D Fitness. I'm sitting here with Brian Lewallen. We're talking about the new Power Leverage version 2 line. This is something that's been in development, I think, since about February, late January. We were looking through all the needs and requirements of each different piece of equipment, and I think we kind of have a lot of good stuff coming in. What are your, first initial impressions after going through this final line for the first time?
Having been in this business for about 50 years, which is a long time, I'm very young.
Yes, indeed.
So the thing is that everybody's building selectorized machines. There's been free weight machines. There's all kinds of assortments of stuff. But generally speaking, every generation, they really don't get it right. So when we developed this line, it was from the ground up almost. And we saw the frailties of some of the other machines. And all of a sudden we said, we could do better than that. So that's the whole genesis of this whole development process.
Yeah, and then let's start out with just some basics. One of the first things we looked at is, we have the Excel line, which is your more industrial style. And one of the things with this one is this is a lot more like stylish and refined looking. Talk about what you think about the overall style, the refinement of this particular line as we go into launch.
Well, the thing about this line is that this goes back to many, many years, decades for that matter, about trying to incorporate free weights into a machine apparatus. Obviously, with selectorized machines, you have weight stack going up and down, which we do have, excellent machines. But we really wanted to see something that's an advance on the old hammer machines from way long time ago. And that was an advancement in and amongst itself. So what ended up happening is that as we plotted through this, both of us trained. We kind of understand what the biomechanics is supposed to be.
Sure.
We just wanted to make it a little bit more exceptional. And when people sat on it, says, "Well, this is something I've never seen before." That's how this whole evolution came about.
Yep. One of the biggest things about this as we were working through the overall design is the smaller footprint. So a lot of these machines have a little bit of a smaller footprint. We can fit more of them into studios or sections of commercial gyms. For the plate loaded sections or anyone that has some space constraints, some of these pieces, they have a really nice footprint on a really high end piece of equipment that feels good. What do you think the biggest benefit is from a footprint standpoint as we're looking at it?
Well, it's just a matter of economics too, because if you have a 2,000 square foot facility or a 1,000 square foot facility, you really want to be able to train as many people as you can during that prime time, which is usually in the evening or early morning. And if you have just a scant few machines, it's not really what people are looking for.
Yeah.
You want to get it over with because a lot of people aren't going to spend 2 hours in your gym. They might be spending a half hour, 35, 40 minutes. That's one of the things I'd have to credit back to Arthur Jones with Nautilus. He actually devised a system whereby you can one set the failure on each machine, 10 machines, and out the door. So he made an economic decision. We're kind of not in that bracket because we want the full experience of lifting weights where it even taxes you whether you're a man or a woman, whether it's short or tall.
Sure.
And if those dimensions or those criteria get met, then all of a sudden you have a winner. And I think that's part of it because people, they get kind of burned out on the same old. And they want something new. And we think in this line, the Power Leverage line, we've really incorporated a lot of new changes that are unique and challenging.
Well, and talk about, more than just the same old and having some difference. And then, speaking of a lot of variety and being able to do some different stuff, I think one of the biggest things is there's 31 machines in this line. So customers and gyms can kind of pick and choose between, call it a couple of the specialty pieces like the glute kick, which is kind of unique because it pivots around the hip without including the knee extending, or what I'm calling the most muscular decline fly machine, which is a really kind of a unique way to do your flies into like what I'm going to call the bodybuilding most muscular position, which is kind of fun. And they have options of your more basic like seated row, lat pull down, leg extension, leg curls. So we can kind of, pick and choose, hey, I want these unique pieces, and then we need these like standard pieces for people. And with 31 pieces, they get to choose a lot of that variety and be able to walk through, kind of a lot of different options of a circuit.
Yeah. And then I think with the 31 machines, obviously we had to make some combo machines, both like example, the seated calf machine. Also, we have a tibia selection on it. And that seated calf, by the way, was invented like in the late 60s, early
Sure.
70s by my partner at Muscle Dynamics at the time, Roger Helgeson. And he was actually recommended by Joe Gold.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the genesis of that thing came around. So going back to your point, we wanted to make sure that in that 31 machines, I think we pretty much captured all the possible nuances
Yes.
that you probably can do on the machines. And that's really the highlight of it, because people get bored fast. So when you have an array of machines, particularly if it's a big facility,
Sure.
or you could do something for your chest this way or that way, or your lats or your legs, they like that. They like that variety, because it kind of gets stale. And actually, your muscles really stop responding
Yep.
if you do the same old thing without challenging your muscle group. So that's the way it is. And then also, obviously, keep in mind that there are women training now. That didn't used to be 3 or 4 decades ago. Women didn't touch weights to speak of.
Yep.
All of a sudden, they got into it. And now with the flexibility of this line, power leverage line, there's a lot of nuances for women as well as men, and people tall, people short, without having too many adjustments on the machines. I think that's it. It's got to be simple, and these are simple and they're very effective.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. And I'm going to go back to the glute kick machine. There are no adjustments.
Right.
You get in there and you position your body however you want. Most of the machines, it's a simple seat adjustment or a simple angle adjustment like on the leg press. And we can get into a lot of really nice, easy hop in, hop out, get a quick workout in, and keep it simple for people. And I'm going to expand on this variability thing too.
Yep.
So we also have the Pro Strength line, which has much more adjustment. It's much more of a high-end boutique and unique style and design. And when we were designing this line, this is the same colors, so we can mix and match some of that high-end, unique customizability and adjustability of the Pro Strength line and backfill in with the Power Leverage version 2 a lot of your more standard machines. So you say, oh, I'm going to get the dynamic row from the Pro Strength line, and I also need a lat pull down that's basic, and I need a row that's basic. I can pull that from the Power Leverage line and kind of build out. So now you have the 31 machines of the Power Leverage version 2 on top of the 27 machines that are in the Pro Strength line that can match and mix and match and really say, hey, I want these boutique, very unique pieces. I want some good hardcore standard pieces from the Power Leverage, a couple of the unique pieces of the Power Leverage, that sort of thing. So now you can pull in, it's almost like having a 60-piece line.
Exactly. And then the thing about it is that this day and age, you really don't know what people want or can do, but what's happening is a groundswell of people now starting to train with weights.
Yeah.
Because, they've been doing cardio for a long time, the simple treadmills, running outdoors, stair climbers, and that type of thing. But a lot of people are now gravitating toward the actual strength, because strength is the basis of your ability to do cardio. And I think that's what this line kind of offers, because there's so many variations of the machines you can do for your chest, your back, your legs, your calves. I mean, they're just an infinite, almost variability, especially by mixing and matching the machines. And of course, there's machines for a small facility, and there's machines for a large facility.
Correct.
And that's the whole idea, the variability that will set the tone for wanting to come back and try something different.
Indeed.
Rather than get stale, because when people stop going because I don't do the same old thing, same old circuit again. No, with the, that many pieces, I mean, you don't have to have that many pieces, but that in again, what you said, mixing and matching with some of the other stuff that we have, it eliminates that boredom factor right away. I actually look forward to going into the gym, and both of us train.
Yeah.
So the good thing about it is that we're just not sitting in a pulpit preaching to the choir.
Correct.
We're actually using this stuff, seeing how other people on our competitors' stuff. I go to a gym that has a lot of our competitors.
Sure.
And I'm looking at it and just saying, that doesn't seem right. Why isn't that right? Or I ask the people, I actually interview people while they're working out. What do you like about this thing? And they'll espouse that stuff. They don't lie at that point. They're bare naked type of exposure to the real truth of how these machines work. And that's what we're trying to achieve. And I think that's what we have achieved. Of course, you're always improving, but that is definitely the basis of what we're doing.
Sure. Yeah. And I think a lot of it too is, I grew up in Olympic weightlifting, powerlifting, and doing the strongman competitions. And I think a lot of what's happening right now and what we're seeing commercial gyms do is they're starting to reduce a lot of the cardio they have. Oh, we're going to do a few stair climbers, a few treadmills, a few rowers, and they're expanding that strength, specifically plate loaded, because people have gone through this phase of the old school bodybuilding into the CrossFit. Now the CrossFit specialized out into a bunch of areas, and people are getting more back into that traditional kind of hardcore strength training.
Right.
Where I can hit a good chest day and I want to do my bench presses, my dumbbell bench presses, and then I want to specialize with, my lateral chest press machine and my decline and again, I'm going to go back to the most muscular fly machine, which I think is super fun. And then so I think we're seeing a lot more gyms come around again to this heavy, like plate loaded weights, bars, dumbbells, strength section, and then the selectorized and a little bit of cardio. And we're seeing some evolution there.
And what people don't realize is that going back, dating myself, but going back to the old days when Joe Gold was around the Gold Gym, and he had a plethora of free weight benches, racks, and so forth. There weren't that many machines. I mean, there was a couple of companies around Universal and Paramount. They used to make a machine, but they were kind of like advanced form of free weight training. But a lot of people didn't like that because it's too grooved, and it balances a lot of benefit for training. You got to have balance, and that's the way your muscles work. You don't always have a rigid pattern that you do. That's some of the things that we have in the line, is that it's really variable in terms of what you're looking for, where you can train with it. We have multiple grips. I mean, it's really quite an advancement in and amongst itself. Way back when, and people probably maybe or maybe not realize this, and you go back because you're an old strength trainer for athletics, as was I. I played football at Notre Dame, but when I first got there was no weight room. There was a bunch of dumbbells and benches and barbells laying around, and this brother actually threw me out because he thought I wasn't big enough to be a football player. But that was in there. That was the deal. They didn't, until 2 years later, right before my senior year, they just started getting machines. They just started getting an advanced deal. So that was back, you're talking about the late 60s, 1970s. So it's been 50-some years since then, but that's where the advancements have come. Because people start getting into strength training. All of a sudden there were strength coaches. All of a sudden there was dietitians. It's become very much a scientific endeavor. So it's not just, okay, it feels good. Yeah, it does feel good. And there's a good return for your invested time. But realistically, things change. And that's why we had to change a little bit in our approach with we have with the power leverage.
Well, and some of it too is have that line be accessible to people of different sizes, different age groups, that sort of thing. And as you know, one of the long predictors of quality of life is being stronger. Right. I have stronger legs, stronger arms. You're be able to be more active, as you know. Right. As you age, if you're stronger, you're more active, you're more able to do stuff. And I think a lot of these pieces we have in the Power Leverage version 2 is accessible from, beginner to an advanced lifter or bodybuilder to, your older population looking to stay strong and functional as they, get later in years. And I think that's a good, breadth of people that have the option to use the equipment.
Right. And I think really one of the things that you bring up a good point, because back in the day, again, dating myself, women didn't believe in strength at all. You couldn't find a woman inside the muscle development part of the gym to save your soul. I mean, they were just not happening. But as the research came out, and as a test rat that I have, not to call her a rat, my own wife did not believe in it. I finally got her into weight training, and then she feels totally different. She's been doing it and stayed slim for 40 years, 50 years that we've been together. Sure. And it's not a short-term endeavor. It's a lifestyle. Yes. And I think that's the way people started treating it. Okay, what are we going to do 3 times a week? We go to the gym.
Yeah, this is what we're doing.
There was only arobics around. That just started. The whole arobics trend just started then. That wasn't even anything until about the 70s. And that started to ramp up. And if I think for people, again, kind of got burned out on that, just saying, okay, I'm kind of not as strong as I thought, and I'm losing a little weight here, but how come I don't have a big muscles in my arms? How come my legs aren't shapely? There you go.
And that's
you
what it
needed
is.
Weight training.
Exactly.
And now people are realizing that this is a way of life. I mean, if you tell a teenage kid now, you got weight training, yeah,
they know what it is, and they get into it. Sure.
Tell somebody in their 70s and 80s, maybe not. I'm a living example, but I actually do believe in that the world has grasped this, not just the United States, but around globally. There's really starting to grasp it. And we're probably the leaders ourselves in this country, that's for sure.
Yeah, I like especially with all the benefits of the strength training and everything. And now let's get into talking to some of these individual pieces.
So
how about we'll start with some basics, right? Well, let's get into, so we have a couple of different, we have a prone leg curl, a seated leg curl, a seated leg extension, and then a leg extension, seated leg curl combo unit.
Right.
These are all super neat, but leg extension, leg curls, those are super basic pieces.
Right.
But at a gym, you want people to jump in and out of them, be able to get in and out, not have to futz with it. The adjustments need to be intuitive.
Right.
So let's talk about kind of your experience as we played with these even just today. What's the adjustment like? How's the ease of getting in and out? That sort of.
Well, you do need, in most of the machines, you do need some basic adjustments due to the heights. I mean, you got a 4'10" woman versus a 6'7" guy.
Sure.
I mean, you probably can't reach both ends of that spectrum, but for the most part, 80% of that curve fits most populations.
Yep.
And we have some basic adjustments, for that. Leg extension being one of them. But, there's ways of building that leg extension. A lot of people just throw a lever down there and you're putting some roller. No, there's what's something called a strength curve.
Yep.
And this means that when you start out, usually on a machine, you're not so strong because you're at a mechanical disadvantage. But as you push through it and you push through the curve, you get stronger. And then most of them at the end, you get strongest, or in case of a bench press, for example, or in case of a leg extension, you're not as strong at the end. So that curve is like a upside down bell-shaped curve.
Sure.
And you got to accommodate that. And that's what the mechanics that we focus on. Because again, you and I both train. We know what it's supposed to feel like.
Yep.
Most people probably don't because they don't use enough weight to make a difference. But the people are now, they want results.
Yep.
And if you don't get that resistance correctly, kind of wasting your time. It's not totally wasted, but you're kind of wasting your time.
You can get a better result with the same number of reps if something's done right.
Correct.
You got it. Let's get into some of the more, what I'm going to call unique machines. And I'll start with what I keep talking about with the decline fly, or what I'm going to call the most muscular trainer, which is actually one of the first pieces we got in to try and we started playing with. What are your first impressions on that? And then what are your overall impressions on a piece like, because this is one of the more unique pieces in the line.
When I first saw it, I thought, what the heck is that? It's like, I've never seen it before. That's one of the beauties about what we're doing with this line. There are definitely some unique features and unique pieces. For example, on that particular bench, I mean, you look at it and you say, what is it doing? Now, when you really get in there and make the adjustments, you find out that there's a real good pre-stretch.
Yep.
That pre-stretch actually is an integral part of development of the muscles. Without that pre-stretch, you're getting benefit, but you're really not taxing that muscle group to its max. And that one actually has it, and it actually isolates to the actual lower part of the pecs. And it's a great machine. It's never really been done that much that I know of.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty neat too. And again, I keep referring to it. You watch the bodybuilding and they do the most muscular pose, and the machines really are coming from up high to down low, and it's kind of this most muscular. And I think even depending on where you put your hands on the handles, you can pull some lat into it a little bit if you want to, or not.
Exactly.
And I felt like it was kind of a unique piece and really kind of fun to use. And the adjustment's just a seat.
Yeah, and
it's super easy to get in. It's super easy to get out of. And, it's kind of intuitive to get in and use. So I thought that was kind of cool too.
Yeah, and you bring up a really good point because it's got to be kind of intuitive. You don't want to be standing there, particularly if a gym with 1,000 members.
Sure.
You get on the machine, they're standing there looking at the machine. What the?
What's that about?
It's like, what are you doing here? So they'll look and see somebody using it. Oh, okay, I get it. I get it. And the nuances is just what you said. I mean, you could use as much pre-stretch or as little as you want. That's built into the machine without a lot of major adjustments.
Sure.
That's the key to what we're trying to do here. Some of these machines, there's like 4 adjustments you have to make before you even put your rep. That's not good. It's not good for the owner of the gym because they get people on the machine for 5 minutes. And that's not good, So, so that's kind of the way it works. And it's an economic thing as well as a physiological thing. So that's where we are.
And let's stick with this kind of good intuitive and patterns of movement. And we can move on to, what I'm going to call like the few back machines. So, the lat pull down, the front lat pull down, the seated row. These all have a really good strength curve, right? Like it's not just a straight row or a straight lat. You're close to wide. It has a really good feel from like a range of motion standpoint, but it's also going through your range of motion when I row from close to wide, or when I'm doing a lat pull down from close to wide, that sort of thing. So it feels pretty good, and it kind of hits that real life.
That's a great
curve.
That's a great point, because what are you doing? I mean, if you make that thing so grooved and only a single plane of resistance, it's not really what you do in real life.
Yeah, totally.
So with this line, we actually try to simulate what people do in
Mm-hmm.
real life.
Yep.
Going from wide to narrow,
Mm-hmm.
going from up to down. And it's a
Sure.
curvier, linear type of motion actually for the
Yep.
most time. And what we're trying to do is have it so people realize that they're taxing their muscles all the way through the motion,
Mm-hmm.
not just a linear motion.
Yep.
It's hard to build. It took us a while to figure it out.
Yep.
But these have been around, like you said, for months.
Yep.
But there's always room for improvement. But I think we've hit the sweet spot now, and we answer that cry. What benefit am I going to get out of this? Is this the max benefit I can do?
Exactly. And now I'm going to jump from the back to the chest exercises. So we have, the regular chest press, decline chest press. I'm going to gloss over the most muscular machine because I've been beating it up, beating into it pretty good there. So even those, the decline, the incline, the regular chest press, they're all kind of from wide to close. Probably even the shoulder presses we were using it the other day is kind of that wide to close as you come through. And again, you're kind of in your more natural curve instead of just a straight on. You remember just the old school, like the chest press was just a straight.
Exactly.
This has a more sweeping motion, right?
Exactly. And even as you consider that, I mean, you brought a big point, let's say on a chest press, on a barbell rack or on a bench press. Basically, you got your hands situated at a certain level.
Yeah, you're at where you're at.
That's it. There's nothing wrong with that. It certainly would develop strength. But, as far as the total development of, let's just say, the pecs, you got to have some action going on there. It's just not just that linear. And I think that's what we've incorporated in a lot of these machines, and particularly with the pre-stretch. Because the pre-stretch is everything. I mean, you don't just sit here and when you raise a bottle, you just don't do this. You're raising it all the way up. You tilt your deal. So we're trying to accommodate that full range of motion that people use in real life. And that serves people well. The chest machine in particular, I mean, why do you want a big chest? Okay. There's a lot of things, women for sure, wouldn't mind having their bust line being supported a little bit better. And that deteriorates obviously with age.
Sure.
Guys, chest has always been the big deal. Going to the
How much you bench? How much you bench? Yeah.
That's the number one question.
There you go. How much you bench?
That and squats, that's for sure.
Sure enough.
Old question.
Sure enough.
And I think, what we're trying to accommodate here is that there's many ways of training the chest, but there are different parts. I mean, you've got your upper chest, you got your mid chest, you got your lower chest. You've addressed some of the things that we do with some of the machines that we build. Do you have to do that every day? No. I mean, but that's the whole variety of having an Installment.
Yeah, it's like a tool in your tool shed, right?
Exactly. It's another one. You need a tune-up. And it's that really is, as far as the chest is concerned, we've got a lot of variety.
Sure. Now we've moved from, your leg extension, so your single joint leg stuff. We've gone into the back machines. We talked about the chest stuff. Let's walk back into some of the lower body machines again, and we'll say, okay, well, the leg press and the pendulum squat, both of those are kind of interesting takes on it. Let's start with the leg press, which is, you can lock it together and it's a true, more lever action. It's not like your linear bearing or just a straight sliding. It's got a nice kind of motion as you use it, and you can push with both legs or train one leg at a time, that sort of thing. What are your thoughts on that one, and how did that feel to you this morning?
Well, I think that's a real life action machine, basically. Particularly if you're a runner. I mean, if you don't run hopping along like a button, basically, you're doing this. You're going back and forth. And that's why we decided to separate it. The old leg press machines, which we do still make, and still we can accommodate it by locking the two leg pads together. What the deal is that you want to have as much flexibility and again, as much pre-stretch as you possibly can in starting position, finishing position. And that's that's one of our, I think, hallmark type of machines because it's never really truly been done before because it's hard to make basically from a manufacturing standpoint. And God knows I had a factory for almost 50 years. That was a lot. There was a lot of gymnastics almost.
Some nuance to be sure.
That you got, if you don't get it right, somebody's going to get hurt. And or, somebody's not going to get the benefit or just this thing's no good. We don't want that. We want to make sure that it's intuitively good. And that particular one that you brought up, the leg press, the leg press legs hooked together with a pin, or you separate them so you can do an alternating action, which is really kind of a real running motion when you stop and think about it. And that's kind of one of the things that you really, really have to figure out because people just say, I just put a leg there, just do some squats.
Yeah.
You know, squats are great. That's a great, not for everybody, but this type of machine kind of simulates that in a lot of ways.
Cool. And then we'll just keep walking through. So one of the other, I'm not going to call it super unique, but we've got the calf tib combo. You know, and usually you see the seated calf machine. They don't necessarily have a tib machine right with it, but this one's kind of cool because it's both.
Right.
So you can hit your calf raises, boom, stick your feet on the pads and start hitting your anterior tibs right away. Bounce back and forth, do some superset with your lower leg. I thought that was kind of an interesting combo. You know, what are your thoughts on the calf tib machine?
Well, it's kind of funny because that calf machine been around since the 70s.
Yep.
And it was the actual inventor of that machine was my partner at my original company, Muscle Dynamics, Roger Helgeson, God rest his soul. But he basically came up with it because Joe Gold told him to.
Yeah.
Because there was nobody really training calves with that kind of mechanism where you really sit down, isolate your legs, and do it. Now, that didn't change for 50 years at all, maybe at 55 now. But the thing is that he designed it so that you're training your what they call the big gastrocnemius, that's the big leg muscles. Nobody ever designed anything to train the front.
Yep.
There's a few around, but not quite like this.
It's not nearly as prevalent.
Not built into one machine. Now, this is built into one machine. Just like you said, you can superset it. It's very effective. And that tibia, that front of the calf, basically is a lot of injuries that occur in sport and in tennis or anything else that people are doing. It's very well known that is let's say, a soft point.
Yeah.
And, any misstep with your ankle or whatever, look out.
Yeah, and that's one of the interesting things. You train the anterior tibialis or the front of your the front calf,
right?
For people for a layman term,
for years,
and that's a big deal. It prevents shin splints if you're a runner. It helps you as you're slowing down in your change of direction sports and all that, and it really is good. And actually, there's a lot of research that says, hey, it helps knee pain and helps you with your knees. So there's a lot of benefits to that too.
You're talking about somebody that had 2 knee surgeries from college football at Notre Dame. So what the deal is that immediately I could feel that was helping because knee problems don't go away.
Yeah, it kind of walks along life with you, right?
So you have to address that. And if you don't address it, guess what? The muscularity dissipates and you have a harder time walking, harder time with balance. So it's not just people training to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Sure.
This is people training for real life.
And a long life. Not just real life, long life, quality of life, longevity is a big deal.
That's why we encourage people, because we make a lot of cardio equipment too, obviously. We encourage them, you got to kind of do both.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't want to hear it, but realistically, you kind of got to do both because your muscles, if they're not used, guess what? They start disappearing. They start getting smaller. And you lose strength. You lose strength as you lose muscle.
Yeah, as you go, sure.
There you go.
And then I think one of the final points we'll kind of drive home, and specifically with the Power Leverage version 2 line, that I think is kind of an approach to accessibility is, people start out and they just start working out and they're not ready to do some of the free weight stuff, either technique wise or just, generally physically. And I think, the Power Leverage version 2 is kind of like an entry level into okay, I can start hitting these and then walk into some of the free weights and mix the leverage with the free weight training as we go, as you're starting into it, so it's good for a beginner. And then as you get through it, you can say, hey, as I get more advanced, I'm using these different machines to isolate and focus on different muscles compared to just the free weights. And it's a good combination. Talk about kind of walking in and using it as an entry level and then kind of as more of an advanced training.
Well, this is a very good point because in the old days, and this has changed quite a bit, you'd never see a woman in a free weight training area at all. They're just too intimidated by it.
Yep.
What we've come up with, and then we realize, hey, wait, women do want to train with weights. And they want to get a little bit more challenge. And why can't I do it? That guy's doing it.
Sure enough.
So good enough. So what we ended up doing is that we ended up getting a line. Power Leverage V2 is that you can kind of ease into doing even more free weights, whether it be squats, whether it be arm curls, whatever. I mean, on the free weights. but these are kind of a safe way to be introduced into that realm because there are a lot of benefits of it. And of course, with the way the designs of our machines work is that it simulates pre-weights quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not exactly right because you don't have the total balance factor that you have with a free weight bar or dumbbells, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
Certainly it gives you that transition to make not so intimidating anymore.
Well, and it gets you into like that initial muscle activation, and then you can progress into some other things, and then come back to it when you're more advanced. And say, oh, I'm using this because I really feel, my lats or my chest or my quads or whatever it is I'm trying to do. I can really focus on these different areas. So you can kind of change it from a beginner to more advanced, and I think that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's it. I think people like the feeling of accomplishment because they'll talk about, how much you do squat, how much you bench press. I mean, it's like, okay, but it's really not that. It's how do you feel?
Yeah.
I feel great after that weight workout. I mean, that's really a compliment, espoused type of thing from people who train with weights.
Sure.
They finally get it. Rather than say, why are you doing that? No.
Yeah.
Just try it. And then you'll see, like,
it's good. And I think a lot of people are really more buying into the whole, hey, I need to get stronger. I need to stay strong once I'm stronger. And it makes things a lot better in life. All right. So now that we've kind of, yapped about all this stuff and walked all through it, we better tell people how they can get it.
That'd be nice.
Right. So just so everybody knows, you can come to muscledfit.com. We also have a myriad of dealers and resellers all across the country that'll be more than happy to help you out if you want a more local personal touch. We have a lot of good dealers in a lot of regions as well.
A lot of international dealers.
Yep, sure.
Now, so they don't have to be restricted because this phenomena of weight training and cardio weight training, you need a complete setup.
Yep.
And that's why there's a lot of smaller gyms sprouting up as well as the large mega gyms type of thing. And it has to be a complement of either one.
Sure.
And I think that's what we have achieved by doing that. You and I have had a lot of experience with this.
Sure.
And we're just trying to impart some of that knowledge into, we don't know everything.
Yep.
Although we like to think we do. But,
we'll pretend.
We'll impart some of that knowledge to the general public.
Indeed.
And we're always welcoming questions. Like somebody calls up and says, I'm looking for a chest machine. Well, okay. But you kind of always have to qualify them. Do you have a gym? Do you have a personal training place? Is this for your home?
Yep.
Once you have to get basic set of questions so you don't oversell them or undersell them.
Sure.
That's the point. And we have all the machines and all the equipment at Muscle D that we could accommodate almost anything right now.
Well, and that's a good segue into like, who is Muscle D and what are we? And so you come to muscledfit.com and you're going to find out, I need a chest machine. Wow, you guys have like 30 of them. Or I need a leg extension machine. Well, you have like 16 different options. What does that mean? What are you looking for? And just give us a call. The phone number is on the website, muscledfit.com. Hit the contact form, ping us. We have a chat on the website. And
I'm sure you have a budget.
So hey, where is it at?
With the budget, and you certainly have the space restriction.
Sure.
So we're able to do layouts for you.
Yep, absolutely.
Work within your budget so that you're not overtaxed or sweating it out for Monday morning payroll.
Yep, you got it.
And that's the idea, is that we're trying to get everybody as inclusive in this as we can. Certainly have the equipment. Just have the customers. Yeah,
so now we can walk everybody through, what do you need? How do you want to do it? And then we talk about delivery options. Like even on the website, you go in, click, I want to get this piece. Well, I need I don't know how to put that together. I need assembly. I want someone to bring it in so I don't have to deal with how do I get it through the door. Do we want to do some type of installation? Do we want to work with somebody to, make sure that entire process is smooth for everybody involved, because our goal is to make sure our customers have the best experience possible.
And we do have a lot of background on this too. It's not just the equipment. I actually owned a gym in New York City, Manhattan, and we had like 3,000 members. I mean, and it wasn't that big. But we accommodated and we understood what was going on. That's really where I learned the habits of people. How often do they come in? What are they going to complain about? Believe me, when you have a gym,
there's
open forum
some complaints.
Somebody's always unhappy. But we try to accommodate as many people as we could. We put in an array of equipment. We use free weights area and we use a selectorized machine area. And that accommodated. And of course, cardio was coming into its own too. And that has the one thing about what we've developed now is that we have we have almost over 400 pieces for God's sakes, and that's to accommodate everybody, that type of thing. And I think as well as I do, a lot of people wander in this business. They kind of have a little bit of a knowledge of what they should be doing, but they need a little guidance.
Sure.
That's what we're there for.
Well, and we did too, everybody. This is why we work with people who we work with.
Exactly.
So, we're happy to work for, and that's something you mentioned, all the equipment we have. And this is one of the fun things we can do is say, hey, Muscle D, we can work with our customers, make sure they're covered across the board.
Right.
Hey, I need a couple of cool plate loaded pieces. I want a couple of, multifunctional selectorized pieces like the Megatron. Oh, well, maybe I need some weights.
Right.
Maybe I need a bar.
Right.
I'll get a spinning bike.
Right.
Or I need, we're working with someone right now. I need 24 spinning bikes and 12 treadmills and a bunch of strength. So it's one of those things where, hey, our goal is to help, our customers' lives become easier.
Right.
Hey, we'll make sure we'll walk through everything you need. How do we work the install? How do we work the delivery? Do you need flooring, weights, dumbbells, kettlebells, medicine balls, storage,
right.
On top of the cardio and strength and everything else, and really say, hey, we can bundle all this stuff up, make your life easy as the customer, and really, again, like I'm walking back to just, hey, let's get the best experience possible,
right.
So that someone says, hey, here's what I need. Great, get that. And we will show up, make sure it's right, and make sure everything is good, and make sure we're, really taking care of everybody.
Yeah, and then you're definitely working within somebody's budget.
Sure. Oh, yeah, that's a big deal.
I mean, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You could add. I mean, don't think that just because your initial setup is like this, that you won't have some more requests for equipment. And if you have the budget and you have the actual population of users coming in,
sure,
that makes it a lot easier. There is a formula.
Yep.
There are techniques for selling. There's techniques for training.
Yep.
It's advanced tremendously. Now you've got the advent of personal trainers.
Mm-hmm.
There's hardly a gym that doesn't have a personal trainer,
that's
2
correct.
or 4 or 10.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's going on. And you kind of have to work with the crowd.
Yep.
And you have to measure that. And you get that by answering that phone,
Mm-hmm.
that fax, or that email,
Yep.
and just say, hey, what can we do for you? I've got a 3,000 square foot facility.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the ceilings are 10 feet high. My access door is only 48 inches wide.
Yep.
I mean, you got all those are considerations. So call us, and that's what we can help you wade through. Save you a lot of time and money, I'll tell you that.
Yep. Well, and we can talk about your budget since you brought it up a couple of times. There's a lot of options. Hey, I need a few pieces of equipment. Hit the website. You can order through, shop installments or Affirm. That'll break it up into payments for 6 months to a year. So, hey, I need to order 3 or 4 pieces, but I want to work that over time. That's simple. If someone's like, oh, I want to go and get, I have a budget of 10 or 20 or 50,000, 60,000. Well, we work with, equipment leasing companies will help make sure you're doing the right things. If you're getting an equipment loan with your bank for your gym, that sort of thing. So we're, having been around as long as we have and literally been involved in every aspect of the fitness industry, from equipment to collegiate sports, professional sports, to gyms, to home gyms, to any aspect of, powerlifting, weightlifting, every aspect of fitness. I mean, we've been involved in and part of for quite some time. So we can really make sure, we fit their need, as the case is, to make sure that, everybody's getting exactly what they need and working within the budget, and how that budget even gets spent, and, is time needed to get paid over time. And here's your options.
And you really good point, because there's something for everybody.
Sure.
And it's starting from a single stack home gym or bench or 2 with some dumbbells, all the way up to a $40,000 or 40,000 square foot facility with a budget of $2 million. I mean, there's everything, anything. This industry has advanced so much in the last half century. It's almost hard to believe. But it is here now. It's a real reality, and it's very meticulous in certain ways of choosing what you need for that facility. Talk to us, because we have a lot of experience in a lot of ways.
Yes.
So between the 2 of us, I think we have like 4 or 5 decades. No.
Yeah, more than that. Probably 70 years.
Yeah. It's almost unbelievable.
Yeah.
But we've learned a lot, and so we're anxious to impart that knowledge to the people that need to know that knowledge, and save you a lot of costs, save you a lot of trouble, and probably being a big part of your success.
Yeah, sure enough. And that's one of the biggest things. And I think we can kind of hit it home here is, hey, that's our goal at Muscle D, is we want to be part of your success as well. We're not just, hey, we're out for Muscle D. Well, no, we're here for your success. Our success is your success as the customer. And if you're successful and happy and be getting results, whether those results be fitness results or results at the gym or results for your members, we want to be here, and our goal is to be part of that and to make sure everybody gets the
Right.
results they're
That's
looking
our
for.
biggest advertising, basically,
Yeah.
is a satisfied person that can go back to, hey, how did they treat you? What did they do for you?
Sure.
We want to be all those things, and we can be.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we are here for.
Exactly.
So besides the hardware, that's hardware is one aspect of it. The mental setup and
The experience.
It's invaluable. You just can't make this up.
It's a huge deal. So on that note, head over to muscledfit.com. Check out all of our stuff. You can also look at us on social media, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, anything we do. We, do a lot of videos, a lot of content. We do warehouse stuff. We do some stuff professional like this. So you can kind of see, like, who are these guys? We're here. We're part of the industry. We've been part of the industry for quite a long time. So that experience, hopefully we learn from our customers as well as our customers learning from us. It's always, every deal is a team effort, actually.
Exactly.
And I think, if we do that, it's going to be a win for everybody.
That's for sure. So just call us the gurus. And hopefully you'll get some great results if you stick with us.
You got it. Thank you. Good conversation, Brian.
Very good.
Excellent.
All right.
Well, now I'm kind of done for a minute.